Hello, welcome to another episode of the No Rest for the Vivid podcast with your host, Claire Hill. I am the founder of the Vivid Club membership and also CEO of Vivid Wire, which is a wire art business, making wire art that makes your blank walls happy. All colourful, bold and brave. And I do some mentoring and business support, but it's all trauma informed. Now, part of the work that I do inside my membership, the Vivid Club, as well as my group program, Project Warrior Boss, and my coaching, it is all about a trauma-informed approach, as well as applying my Warrior Boss framework. Now, a couple of episodes ago, when these longer solo episodes, I spoke about warrior energy, and I also did a second part to warrior energy about how when I have wonky days, which I term wonky, I use warrior energy to sort of hold myself together. And that is something that I talk about quite openly. Due to the trauma I experienced as a child, sometimes have wonky days with my mental health, but it is just sort of embracing the toolkit that I've learned to create for myself that I know works. And the reason I share it is because potentially maybe you might benefit from that. So if that's the case, there isn't YouTube videos for this though, but it is on the podcast, and the link to the podcast, if you haven't found me via the podcast, is in the show notes of this video. But maybe you're just listening to the podcast and you already listened to that episode. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. It's about wonky days. That's what it's called. I can't remember the exact title. Anyway, today I am extending the information sharing about the Warrior Boss framework and looking at the second strand, which is vision, strategy and planning. And I believe that not only is warrior energy a very fundamental part of becoming a warrior boss and transforming from a warrior to a warrior, there's also the vision, strategy and planning that is essential to growing your business. Now, I am one of those people. I might have an amazing dream, an amazing idea. If you can dream it, you can do it, all of that jazz. And I really truly believe in myself and my mission. However, putting the pen to paper and actually getting a plan that I'm excited about. I do get excited about planning, but actually following through on the strategy part, sometimes I'm not as good. I've had to really, really work at that. Part of that work is understanding why we should have strategy and what the journey began of, like, what's even the difference between strategy and planning. Now, strategy is looking at what you want to achieve. And actually, I'm just going to rewind a little bit. Vision is thinking about where you want to be. Who's the person that you want to be? What are the habits that make that person where they want to be or where you want to be? And what does it look like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? All of the senses sitting in that vision. And it's really, really important to do that part of this work. It may be that you want to earn a certain amount of revenue a month, or it might be that you want to live in a certain kind of house and you've seen the house on Rightmove and you've got it on a vision board. It may be that you want to go to go abroad to a certain country and stay in a certain resort, all inclusive, etc. Whatever floats your boat, that is where you are heading. I like to think of my dreams as the fuel that powers the work I do. I have very big, bold dreams. I have 5 big, bold dreams, and I write them down and I refer to them quite a lot. One of those dreams is to become a published author of multiple books. Now, the vision of this, and actually, this is a really good example to apply, because writing a book for me is part of my marketing strategy. It's part of how I'm going to get my message about transforming from a warrior to as many people as possible. Using a book and Audible and podcast is a really good way to interact with as many people that may be my ideal client as possible, to get my reach out there. I've wanted to write a book for 20 years, literally, maybe even longer than that, maybe like 30. Since I could write in paragraphs, I've wanted to write books. But actually getting it done, I have self-sabotaged and got in my own way and procrastinated over this more times than you can imagine. Well, the fact that I'm 38 sitting here and I started writing in my diary when I was 8, that's 30 years. Yeah, it's a long time to want something that I didn't get into into play and into practice. What I did find was I loved writing. So from 8 years old, I wrote in my diary, and I wrote almost every day until I found my husband, until I found him. I was looking for him like this. But when I met my husband, I felt that, life was really, really good. I didn't have the drama of going from bloke to bloke and, having all the dramas as you do in your 20s and you in your teenage years. And so I relied less on writing as I grew up a bit. But then I found it again when I became self-employed, and it's literally transformed how I understand myself and how I understand my businesses. So writing the book seemed like a usual, what's the word? And it just like another step to this process of getting my message out there. And it became part of my marketing strategy. So I started off by writing an ebook that actually you can't get it on the website. I've taken it down. But I started off by writing an ebook just to say that, yeah, I've written a book. It's a small ebook, just 6 small chapters. Brilliant. I did that last year, and it was supposed to be an element of the 1% factor for me to get to the big book. But the reason why I wasn't writing the book is because I didn't have any strategy around it. I didn't know actually how I was going to do anything. I couldn't make a plan about doing it because I had no strategy about what the book was going to be about. Anyway, I had a couple of brainwaves because I really just sort of determined, those days where you're like, I really need to get out of my own way. I've got this vision. I'm not doing anything about it. So I set myself a task of creating the model, the strategy for writing the book. And it's not based on a book proposal. It's totally different. I've never come across a book like it. And I feel that that's going to be quite a unique selling point for it. But I made I didn't make a plan. I made the strategy about how I was going to write it. And I broke it down. And that was the plan part. So the strategy, I created the model and the design of the book. And that was how I was going to write it. Then I made a plan and commitment to write 500 words every day. And I've gone further than that now. I actually have habit stacks. So part of my warrior energy toolkit is to listen to the same songs in the same order every day. And I am programmed now. I have established that habit, and I've been doing it for every day for about 2-3 years now. I know that I need to listen to those songs. If I don't, I feel a bit itchy. Like if I don't write my morning pages, I feel really itchy. If I don't move in the day, like have a walk. And that's what warrior energy toolkit is for. Like you establish these habits to make you feel good and to fill your cup up, or rather expand your cup so you have more capacity. But you have these habits and then you need to stack them. So and a great tool, resource here is to listen or read Atomic Habits by James Clear. Or I hope he's got his name right. And he talks about habit stacking. So having a habit already that you do, and then you stick another habit on the top. So I did that, and I sit down, I listen to the same 2 songs. I can write 500 words in 10 minutes, and that's what I do. And I just do it. I say it's going to be 10 minutes, and I do it. I'm going to do that every day until the middle of March. And then my first draft will be complete, and then the editing process starts. And I reckon that's going to take me about 2 to 3 months. So all of this process, I strategized and then made an action plan. I worked out how many days I would need to write 500 words a day to get to my 50,000 word target. That was the plan. But when you're in your business and you have these ideas, this vision, what does it look like and how are you going to get it? So strategy, for example, marketing strategy. Having that marketing strategy within your business is pivotal in enabling you to be able to speak to your ideal client and speak to them with the same message. And the thing I think that gets in the way of small business owners is that we sort of sit in this element of hobbyists, like, I love my work so much. I love doing what I'm doing. So how is it actually a business? It's just a hobby. I'm not really making that much money. It's like a sideline. This is the facts. Like if you don't have the strategy down, you're not going to make the money that is going to turn it into a full-time life if you want it to turn into a full-time life. And that's the difference. If you want it enough, you'll find the time to strategize. So it's about who is your ideal client? How are you going to speak to them? Where are they? Like, what's the price points? How are you going to, like, what platforms are you going to communicate with? Have you got a mailing list? And right now I'm listing off loads of things and it sounds very overwhelming. The foundations of it are, who are you talking to and what are you saying to them? I do a lot of work on this inside Project Warrior Boss and with my one-to-one clients. We do a little bit of work in the membership about it too. But understanding what you are communicating and repeating that over and over and over and over and over again is so important. So once you know what you're communicating, then you do the planning side of it. Once you have the plan, you actually can take action. So your planning content might be, well, I'm going to post, part of my marketing strategy is I plan to post 3 times a week. And that is consisting of reels and grid posts. For example, if you're using Instagram, it may be that you are using a mailing list. So your strategy would be composing the mailing list. What is the message behind the mailing list? You're talking to your most ideal clients, the people that are really in your fan club. What do they want to hear? What are they interested in? And that creates a strategy. The plan is, when are you sending it? Blocking out that time within your calendar to make sure it gets sent every week or every month, when however you choose. I send messages, emails to my coaching mailing list much more often than Vivid Wire. Vivid Wire, they've asked for monthly, which is happy for me because that means it's less work and they are going to engage with it more. So I imagine that my open rate is going to increase because of that. But that's sort of like a strategy with an intended outcome. I need to make sure that part of my marketing strategy and my strategy for the business is looking after my ideal clients. And if they don't want a newsletter every week, I'm not going to send one. But it means that the outcome of that is that I'm going to have a higher open rate. Therefore, I'm going to make more sales from that newsletter and be able to give more to my ideal clients. Vision, strategy, and planning is so pivotal within your business that if there's some of those foundations that might be a little bit wonky, you can probably survive. Like I like to feel like this part of the Warrior Boss framework is like building your ship to weather the storm. And to be fair, warrior energy is as well. But having those foundations in your ship, if you've got a few holes, you probably won't sink. You'll be fine. But it makes you feel more confident on the waves, to know where you're heading and what you're doing. And it's also that ideal client may sit in different venues. I mean, you may have found me, platforms. You may have found me on Instagram and now you're listening to me on the podcast, but maybe you found me on the podcast and now you're going to go to my Instagram. But maybe you just sort of happened upon me on the podcast, but actually your social media preference is LinkedIn or TikTok. And maybe I need to gear towards that to be showing off with my ideal client. Sometimes it is that your preference for social media platform is actually not where your intended ideal client sits and uses. So that's another thing to consider. Strategy comes in business model form as well. Where are your income streams coming from? When we look at strategy, you might have that vision of going to Fiji once a month. Imagine if you went to Fiji once a month, or living in Fiji, for example. So you need a certain income revenue to be able to do that, able to support that style of living. If you then don't have the strategy to get there, then you can't create a plan to do it. So what does the strategy look like? Well, yesterday, actually, in my Project Warrior Boss cohort from September, we were doing a lot of money mindset work. And I said to them, what is your most desired salary? Like, if you were earning so much a month, how much would it be? Or how much would you be earning in a year? They wrote the total. And then I said, I want you to triple it. Now I want you to think about whether you can reach that. And then all of these doubts and imposter syndrome voices, we've got really, really, messy inside the session. And I said to them, what is it saying? What is your imposter syndrome saying? What is that voice, those doubts saying? Literally all of them said, I would be having to work 24 hours a day to get that kind of money. Therefore, the strategy and the business model of their current business does not support the lifestyle that they may want. So we need to look at that. Where is your passive or semi-passive income coming in? Where are your revenue streams? Do you have multiple revenue streams? Are your revenue streams based on the fact that you have to deliver the service or the product every single time? very quickly, well, about 2 years ago, I implemented some semi-passive models into my product-based business, Vivid Wire, with my workshops, one-to-many sort of model. That enabled me to teach and make more money in a single time. But also, it's not even about the money, it's about helping people. One of the missions with Vivid Wire is to teach wire art to as many people as possible. I want to enable as many people as possible to embrace wire art because it changed my life. But I can't do that unless I have that part of my business model set up. So when we are looking at our businesses, how can we get to the point that is going to sustain the life that we're hoping to achieve? We need to implement those passive and semi-passive models into our, income streams into our business model. We need to have maybe digital products that people can just download, which is simply passive. We need those models with us within so that we can deliver one-to-many services or teaching. Can we manufacture our products to be able to produce more? These are all things that you can consider. And then we need a plan. So if you are going to say, right, I'm going to implement a semi-passive income stream into my business, and that is going to look like kits. I'm going to create a kit and be able to, do a lesson within that kit, and it is going to be delivered because I'm just going to put the kit together and they can watch the video, etc. When's that going to happen? What do you need to do that? What resources do you need? What do you need to learn? There is the plan starting to form. But without the goal and the strategy of how are you going to do it, and then the plan to take the action, your business is not, I don't like to say it might be a bit too pain points for me to say that your business isn't going to survive, because it could, probably will, but you may feel less confident while your business is surviving. You want to thrive as a business owner and a warrior boss. You want to be sitting there thinking, I know exactly where I am. I know exactly where I'm going. And I know it's exactly where I need to be. And having that trust in yourself and the process, and having a really robust vision and goals, having the strategies to support that and a plan to be able to take action, makes you feel so warrior boss. Makes you feel very strong, confident, and really powerful as well. Okay, that's all from me today. If you'd like any more information on anything that I'm doing, any way to work with me, please get in touch. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't before, or subscribe to my podcast. It really does help, like, massively. Some of the work I do is just basically, I just want to get my message out there and show people that if it's possible for me to transform from a warrior to a warrior, it's possible for you. So any way that you can help is much appreciated, because you don't understand the impact of sharing and how that can transform somebody's life. So thank you for sharing. Okay. All right. Have an amazing day.